All right, all right. Good morning, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Make sure that we don't get reverb here, but I don't think we will. Okay, welcome to the Optimize Your Online Business Live Summit. We are so excited that today's finally here. We've got
all right.
Good
morning, everybody.
Hold on.
Hi, everyone.
Make sure that we don't get there we go. Okay. We want to make sure that everyone is aware that all the good stuff is coming, right? We are all pumped up and ready to be giving you goodness, answer all your questions. Make sure you drop questions in the comments. All of the speakers are ready to have eagle eyes on the comments to get your speakers or get your questions answered. So, and then today and tomorrow, the VIP pass is a ridiculously low price of only $77. So if you want to take your education further, these are the 2 days to get into it. Get in on it. It'll still be available through October 1st, but it'll go up to $147 on Sunday. So you got your marching orders there. So today, Deidre and I are going to talk about something that we believe is one of the best ways to grow your business and create the know, like, trust factor, and also create raving fans and clients. And that is relationship marketing. So I want to give you the definition of a sales pitch first. Okay. So a sales pitch is a speech that is given in order to persuade someone to buy something. So we don't know about you, but we don't want to feel the pressure to persuade someone to buy something. And more importantly, we don't want them to feel the pressure to when they interact with us, right? If they feel pressure, walls go up, and that creates barriers to building relationships, let alone making sales. So most entrepreneurs that we know have a love-hate relationship with sales because they don't want to pressure people, but they know sales is part of business. Hello, money, right? We all need to make money. We're here to maybe make an impact in the world. We're heart-centered. We want to do good and help people, but we also need to make money to make it work for us. So at Encore Empire, we like to create a love-love relationship with the sales process for our clients by using relationship marketing. We prefer to use an identifier statement to convey rather than convince, and that is used in place of a sales pitch, right? So we want people to understand what we do, but we don't want them to feel all yucky and pressured. So think about it. Humans build relationships naturally. Using our natural tendencies to our advantage removes the friction from the process. It's natural to recommend things to other people when we have a good experience, or also when we like someone. So if you're being you and you're connecting at the human level, people are going to enjoy themselves when they're around you. And they're going to want to say, hey, I know this person, they're great. You should learn about them too. So in business, relationships are built through the day-to-day interaction and events. And so you have to make sure that, we hear all these things online. You should do this, you should do X, Y, and Z. But we like to run things through a filter of, is this something that is going to make people feel good? Is it something that aligns with our values, that is building a relationship? So that's the focus we want you guys to be on through this today.
Right. So we're going to go through different kinds of connections that you make when you're in this relationship marketing, and where do you find them, and how do you work those into your schedule, how to organize. We're going to go through this whole framework for you so that you can take these ideas, and if you don't have it implemented already, you can start. And if you do have it implemented, then we're going to help you just kind of hone this and maybe take it to the next level. So let's say that you're going to attend a networking event. And this can be in person or it can be virtual. It basically works the same way for both. Now, before you go, there's a little bit of homework that you should do to kind of prepare yourself. And part of that homework is to identify what type of connections that you're most likely to encounter at this event, because each event is a little bit different. It's a little, depends on who's putting it on, what that group is, what their purpose is, and who makes that up. So there are 3 different types of connections that you make in this relationship marketing system. The first one is collaborators. And collaborators are those people who they can add value to your audience. You can add value to theirs. So there's someone that you guys share similar audiences, similar ideal clients. And there are different ways that you can work together and collaborate. And you will find these kind of collaborators through networking events. You can easily find them on LinkedIn, and you can also find them on Facebook and other platforms, as well as in person. So you want to know ahead of time what makes an ideal collaborator for you. And that way, you know who they are when you see them. So you can identify different, other business owners if you can work well with other business owners, and not direct competition, but people who are sort of like complementary to what you do. So to give you an example, if you're a health coach, for example, someone that might be complementary for you, maybe you focus on fitness and there are other health coaches and they focus more on nutrition. So you can put the two of you together, and then you can come up with an event, or you can do some audience share by going into each other's Facebook groups. If you have them, you can go do IG lives, and you go on theirs, they go on yours. You can get on their podcast, they can get on your podcast. So there are a lot of different ways. And this way you are sharing audiences. And because what you're doing is complementary, your audience, you're bringing more value to your audience, and you're doing the same for them. Plus you're getting exposure, right? So you're getting in front of new people, and you're doing it in a way that leverages your time, because it's not, a one-on-one situation. So the second type of connection is a referral. And again, you will find referrals in the same places you're finding collaborators, and often they're mixed together. And that's why it's important for you to identify ahead of time which is which, right? So who is a good collaborator? Who's a good referral partner? And with those referral partners, these are the people who they do something that your audience needs that you don't do. They are serving your same audience just like a collaborator, but the difference is maybe they have a service or a product that is not something that you offer, but you know that your audience would really like. And the same for you. You provide a service or a product that this referral partner, their people really need this thing. And so then you can just refer back and forth. And, instead of collaborating, because what services you offer may not be collaborative, but you can certainly refer back and forth to one another. And you can also make it a formal referral program to where you actually pay a commission, to them. Like if it's more one-sided, like let's say that they're great to refer to you, but you don't really necessarily have that many people to refer to them. There's always some way that you can work it out. But the most important point here is to be able to clearly explain who your ideal client is. And that way, these referral partners know who to refer to you. So you have to be very specific. Now, Carmen mentioned earlier that we like to use an identifier statement. And what that identifier statement is, that says who you are, what you do, who you help, and what the result you get. So when you have that identifier statement, that helps them identify you for the people that they're meeting and can refer to you. And one thing to remember in both collaborators and especially with referrals is that providing value is number one. So another way that you can provide value, like maybe you can't refer that many people to them, but what you can do is you can connect them with other people. So it's not always just about referring prospects. Sometimes you can just refer other service providers. Find out during your conversation, what are their goals? What are their challenges? Is there anything that they, are looking for or need help with? Because you may know someone who you've worked with in the past, and you can refer to them. And that's just as valuable, and sometimes even more valuable than referring clients or customers to them. Now, our third type of connection is a prospect. And prospects are the byproduct of lead generation activities. that means that by doing all of your lead generation, that's how you're bringing prospects in and you're getting in front of them. And they may be found at these networking events or while you're looking for referral partners, collaborators, they just kind of identify themselves naturally. Sometimes it's the person that you're collaborating with or the referral partner. They might just self-identify, say, you know what? I love that we're working together, but I think I need your services. Like they'll just kind of, raise their hand once they get to know you. And with all these types of different connections, whether it's a collaborator, a referral, or a prospect, it's important that you nurture. And you're going to nurture them in different ways. When it comes to prospects, you're nurturing them a lot on social media with your content, or if you have a group on Facebook or LinkedIn, then you're nurturing them there by providing them value. Now, when it comes to referrals and collaborators, you're still nurturing there too, but rather than through posts and content on social media, you're going to do direct value. So if you can't, like if it's a referral partner and just because you don't have anybody to refer to them right now, it doesn't mean you can't nurture them. You can just send them, if you come across a helpful article based on something you guys have something in common with, or that they said at the last meeting, then just send them the article, anything, or just send them, if you can't find an article, just touch base with them and say, hey, I love that I love that post you made last week. That was fantastic. You can share it on your own page for them to help them, share it on your LinkedIn page. So there are a lot of different ways that you can nurture. The point is to keep in touch, let them know you're thinking of them, because that way they're going to think of you when they come across someone that might be your ideal client. Now, focusing on finding collaborators and referral partners when you're in these networking events removes the expectation of making a sale. And one thing that I like to do when I'm in these conversations and I'm at these events is I say it right up front. I state the purpose of the call. Same thing, if I find someone on LinkedIn and I want to get on a connection call with them, I say right up front, say, I'd love to connect. This call is just for us to get to know one another and see how we might be able to collaborate or to help one another or provide value. I say that right up front. And that way they know that I'm not, a salesman in disguise, disguising myself as wanting to connect and collaborate with them when my true intention is to sell. So when you focus on serving, providing value, and get curious, go in really wanting to find everything out about them and thinking, how can I help this person? And if you always go in with that mindset, as I said before, prospects and customers, they naturally evolve. They just sort of, raise their hand. It might be right then, and it might be months down the road. And I've had this happen several times where I was collaborating with someone, and then all of a sudden they said, you know what? I think I need your help too. So I think I need to become your client. So that happens. And it's because that you have built that relationship. And that's what relationship marketing is all about. Now, all of this also works for prospecting. And building relationship first and providing value, that is the key to all of it. And it's also going to work in your prospecting activities, even though it may not be in an event and it might be through your own social media and through social selling. You're still providing the value, always asking, how can I help them, whether they become a client or not?
That's right. And so the next thing we want to talk about is to add on to what Deidre talked about, which is being of value to your connections, no matter where you met them. Most people overthink networking in general, right? Some people let perfectionism derail their progress, while others allow fear to derail them. But it's nothing to freak out about, really. Simply ask yourself, before you go into a situation where you're going to be collaborating or meeting new people, how can I help the other person, right? That's what you're doing. That's what providing value is, no matter what it is, whether it's a referral, a compliment, anything. Being polite, that's helping. So your goal is to ask questions and learn more about them. You don't worry about telling people about you, because it's not about you when you're focused on providing value. that part will come naturally as you show interest in others. Others will then show interest in you. They'll want to find out more about your business and everything. So providing value means you focus on how you can help the other person, and do they want the help that you can provide? That's the other thing. You focus on what can you provide for them, but then the other piece to that is, do they even want your help? And that's something to consider. Just because we're being helpful doesn't mean the other person is maybe ready for it. Maybe they're not receptive to it. Maybe they are, they're accepting the help and the kindness that you're showing, but they're not ready to take the next step. And that's fine. It's their choice. So basically, all of this is done through casual conversation. So when you are at any kind of event, you're just being you. That's the power of relationship marketing. It's not about being sleazy, pushy, or anything else. It's just being you. It's the human to human connection that we're after here.
That's right. So let's talk about the long game of relationship marketing. You may have heard that the fortune is in the follow-up, and it is absolutely true. And there are so many benefits of this nurturing process. And I want to share with you some ways that you can, you might be agreeing with me going, yep, I'm with you. I agree. This sounds great. But then if you've done this before, you know what I'm talking, you're going to know what I'm talking about here. And if you haven't done it, it can seem overwhelming. Okay, because you get into it and you're all excited and you're meeting all these great people and having great conversations and you're taking notes, and all of a sudden you've got notes everywhere. And you talked to somebody 4 weeks ago and you haven't followed up yet. And the pile's just stacking up.
Yeah,
so that happens a lot when it comes to this relationship marketing. So I want to give you a framework for a system on how to be organized to make this something that is successful and is not overwhelming. So the first thing to do is to collect your data. And I'm going to share with you my process, and this process may help you as well. So when I'm on a virtual meeting with someone, I have a Word document up on my computer, and I have already done some homework ahead of time. Like I already know something about this person. I have their name, the date we're meeting. I ask questions when they set up a meeting with me on my scheduling link. Then there's a couple of questions, like where did we meet? Because if you're doing this, if you're going to really take this to the next level, then you may be making 10, 15 connections, in a week or two. And so you might forget, who did you talk to in direct message and who did you send your calendar link to? So I always ask them, remind me where we met. And then I ask them a couple questions about themselves. And that way I have it ahead of time. So I know some basic information, and then I'll go out on social media and I'll look to see, I know what their business is, and I see what their social media says about what they do to help people. Not only does that let them know I'm really interested in them, because I already know I'm not getting on going, okay, who are you? Why are we meeting? There's that does not build good rapport. So I already know something about them, and that way I can let them instead of spending time on basic information, I can take it further and go a little deeper with them. And that also keeps the calls a little shorter. So because you don't want to be on for 45 minutes. Now, I'm not going to say that it never happens, because it definitely does. But that's, if you're really connecting with somebody, if you're really getting some good stuff and even beginning to think, okay, how can we work together? Then, if you have the time, go for it. But like on those initial calls, this helps keep it shortened up if you have that background information. So collect that data and organize it, store it somewhere. I keep a folder on my computer for networking and relationship building. And I just, title it with the person's name and date, and then I put it in that folder. So I always know where it is. I can go back to it. The next thing you want to find out is, who does your new connection serve? I like to have I have a sheet with some questions, some standard questions that I like to ask during that call. And that's one of them. Like, who's your audience? Who do they serve, and how do you serve them? I want to know, I want to see if we have an alignment here, if our, who we serve helps who they serve. And then the next question is to make sure, what do they do? be very clear. And you can see, usually everybody has, some kind of tagline, or they have a bit of bio on their social media, but you want to go deeper than that. You want to, I like to find out why do they do what they do, or how did they get started? People really love to tell their origin story. And that also helps you understand them better, like what motivates them and how they got into this. And I usually hear some really fantastic stories around how they got involved with it. You'll also want to find out what's the best way to contact them, like what's their preference. Even though you may have met on LinkedIn, maybe they aren't on LinkedIn all the time. Maybe that's not their primary way. Like maybe they're, people who they really rely on their email. Everybody has a different system for communication, and we might use all the things. We might be on Facebook Messenger and LinkedIn and Instagram. We might be on all those places, but usually people have one preferred way to contact them, and the place that they look the most. Okay. So find out what that is. And that way you don't send a message and then, it's been a week and you haven't heard back and you're assuming they don't want to talk to you. Maybe it's just not the platform. Maybe they only log in once a week to look at it. So the next part of this is to start nurturing and building in some consistency with that. What that means is that you have to keep track of the people that you are talking to. And as we talked about a little while ago, you need to know what kind of connection are they? Are they a collaborator? Are they a referral partner? Are they a prospect? Now, they could be just one. They might be two of those three. And the best way to do that is just put a note on your sheet, or once you get going in this, I suggest that you set up some sort of CRM system. And this does not have to be fancy. You don't have to go get, complicated software. There are all sorts of ways you can do this. And I started out with a Google sheet or a spreadsheet, because you can filter and sort right in there, and that's good enough to get going with. But then I always tag, or mark what kind of connection is this. And that way, and I'm going to explain why this becomes really important. Not only does it remind you, but there's another reason for it that I'll tell you in just a minute. So if you can have their information and it's in one place that you know where to go and look, and you set up a schedule, like, when are you going to contact them next? That's the most important part of all of this is, if you talk to them today, when do you need to contact them again? Now, you don't need to contact everybody every day, of course. And it really depends on the type of type of connection it is, and how strongly you feel you guys can work together. If you're going, hey, great, you know what? Let's do this. Let's plan for this. I've got time next week. How about you? Yeah. Well, then that's obviously when you're going to contact them a little more frequently. If it's somebody says, you can go, yeah, I see some possibilities here. I'm not quite sure yet how we can do that. Then that might be somebody you touch base with in 2 weeks from now. Basically, the warmer the connection, the more frequent that you want to touch base with them. And touching base can be sending an email, sending a message in Messenger. It can simply be, sending them a quote of the day, saying, hey, just wanted to let you know, I'm thinking about you. Hope you're having a great day. Like, this does not need to be complicated at all. This needs to be super, super simple. Okay. Then in order to manage all of that and to not, it can feel sometimes like, you go down the relationship marketing rabbit hole. Like, you can just spend hours doing this, literally, if you don't have some boundaries put in place. So one of the best things to do is to create some time blocks on your calendar. This is going to ensure that you have those boundaries, so it's not bleeding into everything else you have to do, and that it's going to help you be consistent. Because if you have these time blocks every single week and you do them every single week, then that's where your consistency comes from. So here's how I like to do it, and what I found works really well. So I have time blocks in my calendar, and I choose a different time block for different types of connections. So I have a time block for my collaborations, I have a time block for my referral partners, and I have a time block for prospects. And that way, instead of just going to my list and going, oh, I need to contact these 5 people today, and they're all different kinds of connections, it's like your brain has to constantly switch back and forth on what kind of messaging, what kind of, what should I say to them? It's difficult. And so if you choose one block and it's only collaborators, then, you might have 3 or 4 people. And so you're not sending them the exact same message, but you're on the same thought pattern. You're kind of like in the zone for collaborators, and the same thing for referrals, and the same thing for prospects. So that's a way that you can really kind of be efficient with it. And the other tip I wanted to give you is that I've split my relationship marketing time into inbound and outbound. And what that means is that, like, in the mornings, I'll start with inbound messaging. That means anything from, yesterday, from a certain point on, because I don't keep my, messages open all day. I don't check email every, minute. Like, I don't, because I have to block my time. So I'll check the next morning, and that's anything anybody replied overnight or from late yesterday. Then I'll go through those, and I'm just replying to the inbound messaging. I'm sending out, but only to those people. Then my outbound is where I'm only working on my connection time block, whether it's a collaborator or a referral or a prospect. So I'm only sending out. And even if that person replies like immediately, like let's say I send a message and 2 minutes later, they're replying back to me, I will wait until I finish my list. All outbound goes out first. Then I'll go back and start the inbound, and start replying and then having a conversation. And I found that way I can ensure that I am being consistent and I'm sending out the messages I want to send out that I've determined that I need to send out for the day. Now, if you guys have any questions about any of that, I know that was a lot of information, and I hope that will help you. And it's really important to implement these things. You got to find what works for you, but at least this is something to get you started, or maybe to take what you're already doing and kind of structure it up a little bit better. And now I'm going to tell you, let's talk about this long game of relationship marketing. Now, long game doesn't mean you can't get quick wins, that you can't start now and start seeing results right away, because you absolutely can. But it's also going to provide value in the future. It's like building an asset or an investment, that over time, the interest compounds upon itself, right? That's why we put money in retirement accounts. It's the same thing with relationships. And to give you an example of how this works is when I started working with Carmen and we built Encore Empire. I had a previous coaching company that I did on my own. And prior to that, I was in e-commerce. And prior to that, I was a certified public accountant. So I've had this string of different roles. And through those connections, and even beyond that, I had a childhood friend who we stayed in touch, kind of off and on, not totally regular, but just kind of off and on over the years. And when she saw a post on social media and saw what I was doing, she's like, hey, we need to talk. And so we got on the phone, and it turns out that she was ready to get her business ramped up. And so she's like, I see what you're doing now. And she goes, I think I need you to help me. So, that's a friend, by keeping that relationship all these years and keeping it warm. She immediately thought of me when she needed help. And I know, Carmen, you've got a story that talks about how this whole long game connection works.
That's right. So, as we go through our journeys, entrepreneurial or otherwise, we make connections with people. That's why relationship marketing is so powerful, because it leverages your existing connections. So I had a connection. I have so many stories, but a connection from years ago, and we were looking for speakers for our summit last March. And I had posted on social media, and she reached out and said, I have the perfect person. I want to send her your way. And, other people responded, et cetera, et cetera. But it turned out that hers was the perfect person. So that person became a speaker at our summit, which was a win for both of us. And then through that relationship and nurturing and all of that, with her being able to get to know Deidre and I, she became a client of ours. So you never know where these connections are going to lead. Just because someone you met at a conference years ago, nothing's happened. If they see a post from you, if they, they think of you in a certain way and they're like, okay, I can help this person. I'm going to send them this. And then that can turn into something new. Or that same person could come back and say, I love what you're doing right now. I want to be a client. So we don't go into it with the goal of making everybody a client, because again, that's that pressure, salesy, pitchy feeling that we don't want people to have. But by being genuine, by being yourself, and by having these relationships, it automatically leads to that. It's, people want to know people. People buy from people. They don't buy from businesses. So be yourself and you will attract the people that are naturally attracted to the type of person you are. So, I mean, it's just great. It's a great way to do it. It takes all that yucky, salesy stuff out of it. And it just enables you to be you and relax into who you are. You don't have to put on a facade. You don't have to say the perfect thing. You don't have to have a pitch. You don't have to do all this. You do need to be able to convey what it is you do and who your ideal client is, so that people know if you're the person to help them with what they are struggling with, or so that they know who the perfect referral for you is. I mean, that's true. You have to be able to communicate that, but it doesn't have to be a pitch and it doesn't have to be salesy. So if you want to learn more about these concepts and everything that our fabulous speakers are going to share with you coming up, grab the Red Hot Relationship Tool or Marketing Toolkit, which we're providing inside of the VIP Pass. And the VIP Pass, again, is only $77 today and tomorrow, and then it goes up to $147. So we hope that you will take advantage of it so that you can actually take what you're learning and take action on it, because we know that's where the magic happens, right? So drop your questions and comments in the chat. We will answer them, and we look forward to the next person coming up, Abby Herman, in half an hour. So we'll see you then.